Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Passionately Speaking, our weekly call, where we talk about public speaking, both advanced and beginning topics. And we have so much that we've talked about here. And we've talked a little bit about this before, but I want to drive it even deeper. And that is everlasting impact. How do you have, as a speaker, everlasting impact? How do you create a speech that has everlasting impact? That's really what we want, because it's that kind of impact that will change lives. And that's what we're in it for. Yes, we want to say we want to make money, but we want to change lives. So we have to change their idea. We have to change their mindset. We have to change their way of thinking before they'll ever hire us to really take them through changing their life and making better, whether it's health, whether it's finance, whatever it might be. So we want to really work on now impact and how to make it everlasting. So if we look at speakers in the past, and get ready because I'm going to ask you for a speaker that maybe you remember. Because if we looked in the past and we think of speakers that we remember, or even you could say a movie, if you can't think of any speakers, maybe it's a movie. Chances are it's because of something that happened to you emotionally. And so I'm going to give you, after we go around the room and see what you remember, I'm going to share with you some of the ways emotionally that you can have this impact, because you might not know that that was what it was, why you remember, or why it had an impact on you. But having an impact means that you remember it changed something happened to your physiology as a result of hearing something. Now, there's different sizes of impacts, right? I mean, some could change your life. Some could just make you aware, and some could just, okay, that's good, and you go along. But the key to all of them is that you remember it, is that you remember. So we're going to go around the room, and I want you to tell me, as first a speaker, if you don't have a speaker, then a movie that you remember, and maybe one scene in the movie. We don't have time for the whole movie or the whole story, the whole speaker speech, but one thing that the speaker might have said that you will always remember. All right? So just take a second and try to think of something like that. I mean, for me, I've listened to a lot of great speakers in my time, but I'll never forget it was, and Dr. Renee, who knows who this is, but Alex Mendozian. And I'll never forget that I thought he was this big speaker. I thought he was like somebody famous, right? And it turns out he wasn't. And he came on the stage and he invited his mom and dad to listen to him speak. And from the stage, he introduced them. And I'll never forget that. It was cute. It was heartwarming. It was like, wow, he's just this normal guy, just an everyday guy that's starting out speaking like anybody else. And I thought he was like this big old, icon. And I'll never forget. And he was so humbled and so sweet about it. This is my mom and dad. They came to listen to my first speech. I mean, so cute, right? And that impact helped me to know that, hey, you know, we're all the same in a sense. We're just at different levels in our career. All the speakers out there, yeah, there's some that are more famous and some that are not. But guess what? They all had to start with their first speech, or their first speech on the big stage. And that's what this speech was for him. And that was really enlightening, where I was in my career, which I was just starting out, feeling like I was a nobody, right? Amazing. Okay, let's go to Lori. What kind of impact have you experienced?
Okay, well, I would have to say I would have to give it to Brooke Castillo. She's the owner of the Life Coach School, and I remember going to see her, and I brought my daughter with me, and we were in the front row, and I just remember her saying, like, you can be whoever you desire to be. Like, if you want to be great, you can be great. And if you want to be the best wife, you can be the best wife. And I don't know, it was the way she did it, and maybe it was because my daughter was sitting next to me and I really wanted that for my daughter too. I just remember it was life changing. And of course, I signed up for a course,
Uh-huh.
so she drove me to change my life, really, because she's saying, you can change your life. And I took the next step because of it, and I became a life coach based on the fact of just listening to her speak.
Nice, nice. And her saying you could do it and you could be that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
Okay, beautiful. All right, Ramona, you're next.
Okay, it's a little bit noisy. I'm not very far with my grandkids today, but I said I'm taking a break. I really, Jim Rohn was one of my favorite
Yeah.
speakers, and I listened to lots of his talks, but the one that impacted me particularly and has affected me for a number of years now is he said that you really have to start being disciplined in something. And he says, just pick one place to begin to be disciplined. And 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 then if you do it every day, it'll really help you to grow in every area of your life. Well, at that point in life, a number of years ago, I mean, there was just so much going on with my family and kids and everything else. And I decided that the one thing that I could probably do was make my bed every day, and that at the end of the day I would come back and find one thing that I had accomplished in the day. And it's kind of crazy, but it was very, it's ever since that time I've been making my bed every day. And I actually had one of my sons joined me in that, and so we've been doing it for about 8 years. He reports every day I made my bed. And I don't know, Jim Rohn was a great speaker, and he had a really great voice quality as well, just a very interesting way of delivering. So that was my Jim Rohn moment that has still impacting my life and my bed.
Yes, awesome. And then you paid it forward and your son is doing it. Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, Karen, you're next.
Okay. I heard a guy, I just looked his name up because I couldn't remember. Eric Wainmayer. I don't know if anybody's heard him speak. He's blind and he climbed Mount Everest.
Wow.
Yeah. And he talked about, how important it is to have a team and or a group or be a group together to have these great achievements, right? So, and I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this guy decided to climb Mount Everest and he was legally blind, and like, who even has the courage to do that, right?
Right.
And he was just a very humble, quiet guy, and kind of geeky and dweeby on the stage, but then he just opened his mouth and told this incredible story. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we'll have to look him up. How do you spell his last name?
It's Weihenmayer.
Wow. Is that W and what's the second letter? E?
Yeah, E is an echo.
Okay, great. I'll check it out. All right. Thank you, Karen. All right, Renee, you're up.
Hi, Arvee. Okay. You look great in blue. I love that cobalt blue. Really pretty. Anyways, there's a couple of movies that that impacted me. One of them is A Few Good Men, and there's a statement in there that says, "You can't handle the truth." And the
Yeah.
impact that it had on the audience, I believe, is that exposes how
Is it?
people
Yeah. Is it?
avoid truth
Yeah.
when it's reality. And
Renee, I mean, is it you can't tell the truth? Wasn't it you
no,
can't handle the
you
truth?
can't handle the truth.
Can't handle
You
it.
can't handle the truth. And the impact is it exposes people to avoid reality when truth demands accountability. And why it works and why it's so impactful is that it shocks the listener into emotional awareness, a perfect metaphor for relationships and business culture. There's a lot of people who can't handle the truth, and you have to like dance around it because they just can't handle it. So I always say, consider the source. If someone's going to criticize you, always consider the source. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything. The other one is from this Shawshank Redemption: get busy living or get busy dying. And that impact, I believe, would be about the forces. It forces the audience to confront mediocrity versus purpose. And that's why all of us ladies here are here today, so that we're not mediocre speakers. We're at the top shelf. We're top drawer speakers, right, Arvee? That's where we're trained by you. And the other part was another impact was that it's in love or leadership. You're either building it or you're breaking it down. And the last one, I think everybody knows this one, is the power of vision and destiny. If you build it, he will come. And that's a field of dreams.
Right.
And the impact on that is faith before proof, perfect for talking about manifestation and belief, and just believing in that there's God and we're all miracles of God. So I use it like this in relationships and business. You must believe in what you can't see.
Beautiful. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, Tanya, you're up.
I listened to, first of all, I'm not trying to give any instructions, but I think it would be so helpful to everyone if everyone would write in the chat the one that they recommended, because I would love to go back and listen to some of those. So if everyone could please do that. But I listen to so much when I'm walking, from Jim Rohn to Myron Golden. But Arvee, you are the speaker that changed my life.
Oh.
Seriously, I'm not trying to be, coach's pet today, but
But you are now.
but I am. And the reason I say that is because the first time I heard you speak, and you kept saying that everyone has a story and people need to hear your story, and you kept saying that, I immediately signed up for your year or 6-month class, and it wasn't cheap, but it was so helpful. In the long run, I've gotten all my money back 100 times. But when you said that, it made me feel that, you know what, she is right. Because I kept saying, I'm going to retire. I'm going to stop doing this. Even though I love it, I want to travel. And I just figured out a way to do it. But it was your saying that made me say, you know what, people do need to hear my story. They do need to hear how saving can help them from living paycheck to paycheck. They do need to hear the financial principles. And when I took your class, it was really so I could present myself better and tell the story better. But every time I got ready to, I don't want to do, whatever, this anymore, I kept hearing you say, everybody needs to hear your story. You don't want to die with your story going to the grave. So it's you that really changed the way that I do business.
Thank you.
Seriously.
That's sweet. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Dr. Peggy.
Oh, that's beautiful. My favorite all-time speaker is Maya Angelou. Oh my gosh, I had the opportunity to see her speak at the LA Music Center, and she made you laugh, she made you cry. She spoke she can speak like she could speak about like 4 different languages. She greeted everyone in all these languages, and it just kind of connected everyone. She sang, she recited poetry, she spoke, we laughed, and I mean, she spoke from the heart, and I always called her my mentor because I wanted to emulate her in my very first speech, although I wasn't I wasn't professionally trained now. I greeted everyone in these different languages, and I did a little poetry because I just love the versatility, and she was like everyone's favorite. She got several standing ovations. She was a very, very unusual person.
Nice, nice. And yeah, put her name in the chat. Okay, thank you. Ardina.
Well, I'm not going to piggyback on Tanya. However, I have two, but I wanted to start with you, Arvee, because I remember the first time, not the business, the women business, well, it wasn't women, it was business, but it was the first time I heard you speak. And I know for a fact that changed my life. Speaking has never, ever been in my vision. And when I heard it, I just remember it was like a fear that came over me, but at the same time, it was like a mandate. It's like, you got to get in there and find out what this lady is all about. And I'm going to tell you something. Today, I believe the Lord spoke into my spirit. Two things. One thing that you said earlier today, and I believe what he shared in me was it's time to move from just speaking to making a difference. I went walking today because I was practicing. The other thing, let me see if I remember what it was. That you have been divinely sent to me.
Wow.
And that just ministered to me. The other is there's a video that used to play. I think that's Lisa Leslie.
I don't know.
Remember, there's a powerful video that you used to play.
Oh, at my events, yes.
Uh-huh. And that right there, every time I hear that, it's working. It's just working in me. How important it is that we have to get our message out there, fulfill our purpose, because if we don't, it won't get done.
Right, right.
So I wanted to use those two together.
Thank you. Beautiful. All right, Dr. Luana. Hello.
I was sitting here trying to think who made such a big impression on me, and I've heard so many speakers, it's kind of difficult for me to say. I do remember this movie, and I don't remember the name, just that Paul Newman and Martin Strutter was in it. And Martin said this line that was quoted quite often. I don't hear it much anymore. And that's that what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah.
I remember that people used to quote that so often. I guess I would have to pick Mrs. Stokely. Mrs. Stokely made a huge impression on me. When I first came to Sacramento, I was I'm still this very quiet, shy girl. But she saw something in me that others either overlooked or they saw it and thought I knew it. I don't know. And she pulled things out of me that might not have ever come out. She's a person who made a huge impression. I might not be sitting here today if it wasn't for her, because she kept telling me, you cannot stay in that small ball that circle you're sitting in. You have got to get out. You've got to meet people, and you have to let people know who you are and what you're about. And I didn't know who I was or what I was about at that time, but she kept pushing me. And I'm so grateful for her for doing that.
Good, very good. Okay, and put her name in the chat as well. Okay, Dawn.
You, of course. Hands down, Arvee. When I met Arvee, I was like, who'd want to hear what I have to say? She said, everyone has a message that one person needs to hear, that your message could touch or even save a life. And I've never heard anybody say that before or given it much thought, but yeah, hands down, Arvee, you. Totally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Jackie.
Well, I'm going to go way, way back because
Okay.
I agree with everything that has been said about Arvee. But when I go way, way back, I go all the way back 40 years. That's way back. And the person who helped me to get started doing personal growth was Zig Ziglar.
Ooh, Zig, yeah.
Yeah, Zig, very old. I mean, he's long been gone.
Yeah.
And I first read a book of his, See You at the Top, and that book changed my life. And then I finally got to hear him in person, and I was a part of his subscription for many, many years with his leadership development. And then the same with John Maxwell and his leadership development. And I listened to, got a CD every month from the Maxwell Leadership School, and I just learned so much from those two men, both in person and on audio.
Beautiful. What did Zig, is there any particular phrase or quote that Zig, I mean, he did lots of them, but
yeah, he always said you can get anything you want out of life if you help other people get what they want.
What they want.
I think that's his most, at least that's the one I remember. He said a lot of stuff, but that's the one I always remember.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, they've used that in a few network marketing companies, you know, to motivate their people. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, great. All right. So good job, everyone. So there's a lot of things in common, and they're all emotional. I'm going to tell you like 7 different emotional connections. All right. So one, Karen mentioned it. She remembers the story, right? The story that he told. That's why stories are so important, and we have story classes and we go over the story so much, because if you can learn how to do your personal story, then you can learn how to share any other story or anybody else's testimony or anything else, because that personal story has all of the elements of a good story. Every story has a villain. Every story has a hero. Sometimes that hero might be you. Sometimes the villain might be you, right? Or somebody else or something else. But they're basically all set up the same way, that by the end of the story, you know, it's happily ever after. And the bigger the story, the more emotional, the more detailed that person goes, the more we'll remember and the more impact. So if we go down to all of the senses when we tell a story, like the grass was waving with the wind, and I could smell the smell of fresh cut grass. I mean, when we go to that kind of detail, like we do typically in writing, right, Dr. Peggy? Then that's how we want to tell the story. Now, not every detail, we don't have to, like a book. You know, book, you have to tell every single detail because it's left for your mind. But we don't have time in a story to say everything. But if you just put in a few here and a few there in key points, that will get their senses going to where they'll remember. So become a great storyteller. Keep practicing your stories. How do you do that? Go back and read some of your child's fairy tales, and you will see a standard kind of system, which if you've gone through my storytelling classes, you've seen as well, or my mastermind or that kind of thing, because we do them in detail. So learn how to be a master storyteller. Number one, that will make, I put that number one because that will make the greatest impact. And it's, guess what? It's the funnest and it's really the easiest because you're not playing with anybody's psyche, really. You're just sharing a story and letting them take whatever they can from it, right? All right. Number two, you feel something. You felt something. And this could be a story, this could be a quote, this could just be like my example. I felt something just when he introduced his parents from the stage. I thought, oh, God, he's just a normal person, just like me. I felt something. So when somebody feels something, it wasn't a story, right? He didn't tell me, it didn't say a story. It was just what he did. And I connected and I felt it. And I'll always remember that moment. So if you can get your audience to feel something. Now, there was a couple hundred people in that audience. Did everybody feel that? No. And it wasn't meant for everybody, right? That's why when we speak, we have to use a lot of different techniques. If we could just, now, storytelling usually is the one technique that will work for 99.99 people in the room. But the rest of these techniques, no. But we want to put out as many techniques as we can so we can cover as many people as we can and change lives as we can. Okay? So they feel something. Dr. Renee, yes, you had something?
I'm sorry to interrupt, Arvee, but do we remember when Tommy did not the last rites, but he spoke at your husband's grave? Do you remember that? His words? All I remember was an impact, what it made when I was listening. Do you remember? Was it Tommy?
When was that?
When your husband passed away, we went to the gravesite.
I don't remember Tommy speaking at the gravesite.
Okay, was he speaking at the reception?
No, nobody spoke at the reception either. I wanted to speak, but
yeah, maybe it was at church. Yeah, maybe it was at church, and it was probably you, Arvee. It was just I was emotional, but I know you were too. But I remember the funeral and the reception, and I just remember how I felt after Michael. That I think it was actually I think he did speak, but then also that was impactful too, Arvee, was hearing you speak at the church. That was very touching.
Nobody spoke at the church but me and.
Then it was you at the church. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
No, but you did a fantastic job.
That was the hardest speech I ever had to give. Yeah. Okay. So feeling something. Number 3, something that hits home, right? And it goes more than just feeling it, but something that where you go, oh yeah, boom, right? That got me. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm experiencing. That's what I'm feeling. So it's not a feeling they gave you, but it's something that they've said that really connects, really gets you, like that you're doing it, right? Conviction kind of thing. We get that sometimes when we go to church, right? Are you doing road rage? Oops. Right? Are you doing road rage? Yeah, maybe, so something that hits home. Number 4, a trigger. Something that just triggers, they do something and it triggers something in your life, in your past, or what you're going through now, but just a trigger. And we all have them and they're all different, but just something, and maybe they didn't even mean to do it, but all of a sudden it triggered an emotion, whether good, whether bad, whatever it was. But because of that trigger, they made that impact. We'll remember it. We remember, again, it's a feeling. It starts with a trigger, but it ends up being a feeling, right? So it could be, they could trigger guilt. Maybe it's a fitness person, and they're, maybe it's Karen, and Karen's talking at her retreat, and she's talking about fried foods or something, and we all go, oops, I just had, something awful, and it's a trigger, and you start feeling bad about yourself or whatever, but you'll remember that she said fried food from Cane's is not a good idea, that kind of thing, whatever it is. I'm making this up, obviously, but some sort of a trigger. The next one is they remind you of an event that happened or of someone, right? They remind you of an event that happened or a person. Yes, that can be a trigger, but when I think of triggers, I think of, okay, I have abandonment issues, and someone, mentioned something like that, that could trigger that issue. But reminding of an event, that is something that maybe I went to or that happened to me, or it's temporary. Triggers are usually pretty permanent unless you do a lot of work. And I think Lori on the call is somebody that can help you, right, Lori, with that kind of thing. But unless you worked on them, they're usually pretty permanent. Where remind you of an event, that's just something that happened in the past. So I look at them as different. So it could be a good event. And we have to be careful too as speakers, because we don't want someone to go off and start, going this mind trip or movie without us, right? So we do have to be careful, but there's things that we can help. But if the event was a good event and you help them to remind them of a good event, let's say it was a wedding, a beautiful wedding, and then now you're thinking about your beautiful wedding, that's a good thing. And you can remember you can remember that speaker, or remember that feeling that you had from them. Okay? And connection. The next one's connection, feeling like you're connected to that speaker or to what they say. Now, quotes are really big, right? I love quotes. So oftentimes, like say, nobody mentioned Tony Robbins, but he's one of my favorites. And Tony Robbins, I used his quotes all the time. He says, good isn't good enough. You have to be outstanding. I remember where I was when I heard that quote from him. I was in his big, audience when it was in, it was now close to, it was right when I started opening my business, so close to 19 years ago. And, I went, spent the night. I got the best seats. I paid for the gold seats right up front. If I was going to pay money, I was going to get up close and personal, right? And I'll never forget, he had a crowd of people in front of him at this, at this one moment in time. And he's bending down, and the stage is huge. The stage had to be 5 feet. It's not little 2 or 3 feet. The stage was 5 feet or 6 or something like that. And I remember he was leaning down, shaking hands and touching people's hands. And all I could do it, his hands are gigantor, right? They're huge. And I touched like his thumb or something. And I remember he just turned and looked at me straight in the eye. It's like he looked at everybody that touched him, almost like Jesus, when that story when the woman touched his clothes, right? And he turned, said, who touched my robe? And she was healed instantly. It was like that kind of feeling. And I say that because that's the feeling I got from that 1 second in time. That's an everlasting impact, right? So that connection, we were connected just for that, right? And then the last one I have written down is similarity. Finding similar things. Someone's on stage and they're talking about they went skydiving, and maybe you're a skydiver. And so instant connection because of the similarity in whatever it is you say or do. And so that's why we always want to share what we do. So I always share that I'm a woman of faith on stage. You all heard me a million times. And I had one gal one time that walked out because she complained she thought it was church. And I don't talk that much, but but why? I want people to know on purpose so that they're similar, like attracts alike, but also because I can't hide it if we're going to be coaching. I mean, I'm going to be leading with that. So, or training. So sometimes we just have to, be brave and put it out there. And again, I remember the very first time I heard a speaker say something like that was a long time ago, and it was my mentor, Eric Lofholm. And he was on my stage, one of my stages. I did a big stage, Speak Your Way to Wealth. Dr. Renee's been to it. But anyway, a huge stage back in the day, multi-speaker. And he said, and I prayed about it. And I looked to the left and I looked to the right because I'm out of corporate America. Boy, you didn't even mention God in corporate America. You didn't. You just didn't. And so I looked to the left and looked to the right to see if anybody was like, gaping, and nobody said anything. And I thought, I can do that. I can say that. And that's how I started to say it. And then I prayed about it. That's all I said for a while. And then I went more, and then I went more, and then I went more. So don't be afraid to be who you really are on stage. Now, I know there's some speakers that get up there and they lay the F-bombs and all that. And if that's the audience they want to attract, so be it, right? Even Tony Robbins drops F-bombs, but he does it with a purpose. He does it with an NLP purpose as a shock factor. So unless you're him and know what you're NLP and know what you're doing, it's probably not a good idea, So anyway, so similarity, like being like someone, like attracting like. All right. Kind of like also similarity and been there, done that, if it's one of those kind of stories you can relate. Yep, been there, done that. Yep, I can relate to you. I've experienced that. That's a real bond and real connection with your audience. So get out there, speak your truth, be authentic, and make these kind of emotional connections that people will remember. And what I say too is use your own quotes. So one of the quotes, my biggest mantra, and a couple of you have alluded to it, Dawn, particularly, is when I said, you have a message to share that only you can share to people that can only hear it from you. That's my quote. I made that up. Well, God gave it to me. It just kind of came out one day. And somebody in the audience said, wow, that's really profound. And I went, it kind of is, but it was God delivered for sure. So you say things every single day, capture them. See, I was lucky I had somebody in the audience that brought my attention to it. But listen to yourself and pull out some quotes that you end up kind of saying all the time. Like Dr. Renee, love at last. It could start with it could be your memorable statement that you all have. That could be one of your quotes. But start quoting. Why? Because people remember quotes. Right? I said several quotes here that I remember that I'll remember forever. And even, another one that like Les Brown said, you can't see the picture if you're in the frame. And I've used it forever. And then Alex Mendosian has another version of it. He says, you can't see the label if you're in the jar. Wow. That's so true. And so I like tell people you can't see your message. You can't see it. You've got to pull it back. And then I show it to you. It's right here. But you're like this, right? And you can't see it. That's why we need mentors and coaches to pull back our hands and to show us our greatness.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments before we end today? Yes, Ardina.
So this was called, what was the title?
No, Everlasting Impact is the title of today.
Okay.
I had 7 like emotions that you can use. You're using them, but I want you to be more aware of them so you can be purposeful. Like I said, I really need to put a quote here, right? That people will remember. And the shorter the quote, the easier to remember too. My mantra's kind of long, but still. And you want to say it, whatever your deal is, over and over again.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anything else before we end today? Laura, it's so good to have you today. Look at that smiley face. Look at that happy face.
Oh, it's so good to be here, and I just love coming.
Yeah.
And I ditto everything that everybody said about you.
Thank you.
And you want to go to Dr. Peggy's writing seminar because she's excellent, by the way. I did go through it and she helped me a lot. So, all right.
Thank you. And I agree too about Arvee. When I first met you and you said you were a Christian speaker, I mean, that blew my mind. And you say it every time. You might not remember back in the day when I used to come to your classes. I was like, wow, she's coming out saying she's a Christian speaker. And there weren't a whole lot of women speakers at the time. And I've never heard, even since then, someone say, I'm a Christian speaker. So that was something that was a great influence on me, to be, and you're modest really, because like I said, you had to fight for the stage. You had to fight men for the stage.
Yeah.
And I know you did, because it just was not happening for women at the time. So we're obviously here because of you, because of the impact that you had on us. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
And Laura, it looks like you have gone back in time. You look younger, girl.
You're so funny. No, and just building on what Dr. Peggy said about you too, Arvee, is I think that there's so many of us that we, like we don't know, should we be that person and talk about our faith, or, should we stay like very secular? And deciding where can we impact the most, or where can we feel ourselves the most. And I think from going through your program, I realized that I was most authentic becoming a Catholic coach and just naming it. Yeah. Right. And just becoming that coach instead of trying to stay in the secular world. So you really, by you doing that, I think you help a lot of people come out and bring their faith into what they do. They feel safe now, because if you can do it, then it's safe for us. So I really think Dr. Peggy brought up a really, good point, that you have all, maybe helped, like a lot of us in that area.
Good. Beautiful. Because there's a lot of, it's like not about business. There's plenty of Christian business. Everyone. What happens is when we try to be politically correct and say the higher power instead of God, we confuse people, and then nobody comes to us. Christians don't come because they're like, I don't believe in source. I believe in God. And the secular people don't come because they're like, I don't know what you're talking about either, right? They can't make up their mind. So by going straight down the line, in who you are and saying God, and I'll never forget, this is another little story. Oprah Winfrey, her last show, and I never watched the show, not once, because I always worked. Even though I worked from home, I always worked. I never watched the show. I can't multitask and watch TV. But anyway, the last show, something urged me to turn it on. And I turned it on, and right then she said, I'm talking about God. the one and only God. Bam, right? And again, it's like she's setting the example. It's like you don't have to be politically correct. That it just confuses people. At least if you're down the line, if you know you're in your faith, the non-Christians can decide if they want to be with you or not. And I've worked with many non-Christians. I've worked with Hindus. I've worked with Jews. I've worked with every spectrum. It's not just Christian. I just say I'm a woman of faith. I love and believe in all faiths, right? But I do believe in God, and that's the center of all of them, right? So be who you are, like and it goes for what you don't like too. It goes for what you don't believe, what you're against as well, without getting political. I'm not talking, don't get political because you'll lose everybody. But be yourself and you can stay in your faith on stage. Yes, Dr. Renee.
Okay, real quickly, you've opened the doors for all of us, Arvee, but it's just wide open. And I've never had a problem talking about God or Jesus and being God's miracle. But from the outside, especially what's happened recently with Charlie Kirk, and watching the funeral with Erica Kirk saying and all the words that they all said. They said God and Jesus many times, and I saw politicians saying God and Jesus many times. If you watch in LA, especially when you see the Emmys or the Grammys, nobody ever thanks God. I think in all the years I've been watching it, maybe a small handful of people would say, "Thank you, God, for this award," and He's the one that gave us the strength. But the point is that I think Erica Kirk has now opened the doors recently, and there's more women becoming more traditional women. And you probably know this too, Lori, because have you heard of that term, trad women?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and it's a
and
good
I agree
thing.
with you.
It's a great thing. I
Yeah.
love it. It's all about love and respecting your family, your husband, respecting God, and getting closer to God. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's just having more love rather than fear. So I don't want to get political. It's just an awareness about Erica Kirk, that thing was her what she said about her husband and her talk. And another time, Arvee, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are about everyone speaking on that podium, because they didn't do the RV formula, not all of them.
Everybody likes to.
No, some of them did it, some of them didn't do it.
I don't know. I'm sorry, honey. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, there was a memorial for
Charlie.
Okay, so there was a 5.5 hour, I'll make this fast, a 5.5 hour memorial for Charlie Kirk. Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, he was killed. He was a spokesperson for love, God, and Jesus. That's all. And he's been very popular. So if you didn't know what I'm talking about, I'd rather drop it. So anyways, I didn't know that. I thought everybody knew who he was. Anyways, okay. Well, thank you so much, Arvee. This was fantastic.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Thanks for all your energy and sharing. We'll come back next week. Remember, one more week, and then I'm going to be in the Philippines. Dawn and I are going to the Philippines and competing. So wish us luck. I'm qualified for the pro cards, so they're giving out pro cards. So pray. I need you to pray that I'll get my pro card.
Yes.
Yes, I worked hard for it. So
what's a pro card? What's that? What is a pro card?
The pro card means that that's the next level, and then you can get sponsors.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Get sponsors. It's just the next level. I mean, you got to keep growing. And so this is what everybody that competes goes for, is the pro card. Then after the pro card, then you go for qualify for Miss Olympia. And we just help our gym do that. And then you're Miss Olympia. I mean, don't know if I'm going there. I'm just saying there are stages, and this is my next stage.
Well, congratulations.
So when you get sponsored, that means some dollar signs, huh?
Well, sometimes they'll just sponsor food for a year or something, or my bathing suits, something like that. Yeah, which means it's all good, because then that's money I don't have to spend. But yeah, not usually dollars, but in trade, outfits.
Well, that's dollars that you wouldn't be spending.
That's right. That's wonderful.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. So what day is the competition so we can pray for you? Or
25th of October.
25th of October. Okay. And is it like an all-day event and everything, or?
Yes, it's pretty much
Okay.
awesome. We have in the beginning pre-qualify, and then we have the judging, and then the winners at the end. The pre-judging and then the judging. Yeah, so it's an all day.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope you feel our prayers, because I know, I'm sure we'll all be praying for you.
Yeah, we prayed for her this morning at her Christian business partner.
Oh, that's
Every time we
sweet.
pray for you, you win. So
That's
hey.
right.
All right.
Uh,
Well, we just lift her up and we just trust in you, Jesus, that she's going to win.
yes.
Right. And we stand in agreement with your prayer that's already
Amen.
gone forth, that it shall happen as you have said it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Feel the confidence of the Lord, because the Lord is with you and helping you be able to, get that pro card.
Yes.
If he puts you there, he's gonna bless and make provision.
Yeah.
But he definitely put you where you are.
That's right.
But he's not gonna leave you now.
Amen. Amen.
Jesus.
You inspired too many people.
Thank you.
God needs you too.
But since this is a praying group, pray for traveling grace, that the ship will go out and come back in, and I will be safe.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
And anyone else that's traveling.
Yep.
Amen.
Ship in the airplane.
Well, I'm doing one on the 18th in 2 weeks here in Riverside, because that's the graduation of Michael going to heaven. So I'm going to do it on that day and give it and dedicate it to him. That's just kind of like a practice fun one.
That's nice.
Congratulations, Arvee. So proud
Yeah.
of you. So proud of you. It looks so fantastic. Your arms, you're just relaxing, and they're so cut. You're just relaxing. You're not even flexing. It's like, really?
More prayer requests.
So defined.
More prayer requests.
You're such an inspiration.
Yeah, because I'm cutting. I've got 2 weeks, so we're in a cutting phase.
Oh, cutting.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, whatever it is, you look great. You're fantastic. Oh my God. Whatever it's called, you look so great. You're a winner in our eyes.
That's right.
You're a winner in our eyes.
Well said, Renee.
Thank you, Tina.
Well, thank you all. I love you all. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, and then you'll have a couple weeks vacation. Okay?
Okay.
All right. God bless everybody.
Bye, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Uh-oh.